All right, let's move on to question number 136. During the identify stakeholders process, which document may provide some initial idea of who the stakeholders are for a project? A. Communications management plan. B. Project charter. C. Human resource contract. And D. Responsibility assignment matrix. And the correct answer is project charter. Right? So during the identify stakeholder process, which document may provide some initial idea? Because please remember, when you have this process called identify stakeholders, it is the very second process that you conduct at initiation. Like the very first two processes that are conducted are develop project charter, and the second one is identify stakeholder. And obviously, project charter would become an input to the process called identify stakeholder, and therefore, none of these others will become an input to this process. The only one that becomes an input to this process is project charter. All right, let's move on to question number 137. In your project, you have monitored the status of the project to update the project budget and manage changes to the cost baseline. Which of the following is an output of the control cost process? A. Basis of estimate. B. Cost forecast. C. Cost baseline. And D. Project funding requirements. And the correct answer is B. Cost forecast. Now, basically, what are we trying to do here? Which of the following is an output of the process control cost? Now, control cost is where we try to do earned value management to figure out, okay, how are we doing cost-wise in a project? Now, basis of estimate is one of the outputs of the process called estimate cost. Like it's in the beginning, right? That's when it's planning, right? At the execution has not been done. Forget about monitoring and controlling. So, basis of estimate is output of the process called estimate cost. Cost baseline is an output of the process called determine budget, right? Now, in control cost, we are actually comparing the actuals with the cost baseline to find out, okay, how we are doing. So the output is cost forecast. Project funding requirements is also an output of the process called determine budget. Cost forecast is the only output which is mentioned here, which is output of the process called control cost, and hence the answer. In case you're looking for a course, an examination readiness course, which is going to get you ready in just under 16 hours to ace PMP exam. Does a course like that exist? Yes, it does. Well, all you have to do is type pmvideo.pm-pulse.com. That's my site for PM videos. And over here, you have a few PMP 2021 related videos. The very first one is PMP Dash. PMP Dash for acing PMP 2021. When you come to this particular landing page, you have a video which will give you an introduction to entire PMP Dash. It also contains certain things which are there in PMP Dash. There'll be samples of what's contained inside. You can make an informed decision. The best thing is it gets you ready in just 16 hours. It contains every aspect of what's going to be covered in the PMP exam. Not only that, it has also 180 questions, full examination set guided by me. In case you're looking for a course which will get you ready for PMP exam in a very short period of time, and not only that, it'll help you ace it. Well, this is the course. Question number 138. Who does most likely conduct an audit to ensure compliance to health and safety regulations? A. Government inspector. B. Project manager. C. Functional manager. And D. PMO. And the correct answer is PMO. Well, most of the organizations which do a lot of projects have a PMO, but it's not necessary that every organization has to have a PMO. But most of the companies where they do substantial amount of projects where compliance and audits, other things come into picture, well, they would be a PMO. And if you have a PMO, which is a project management office, well, it is one of their duties to actually conduct an audit and to ensure that we are in compliance, not only to the government regulations, but also the health of the project, safety regulations, and stuff like that. All right, let's move on to question number 139. If you're working on a project with constantly changing scope, which contract type would work best when hiring engineers from an outside vendor to complete a portion of the work? A, cost reimbursable, B, lump sum, C, time and material, and D, fixed price. And the correct answer is time and material. Every time you hire somebody and you retain control and you hire somebody as engineers, workers, anybody, construction engineers, consultants, when you hire them and you just have to pay by the hour or by the month, by the day, whatever is the your contract means you have some kind of a daily rate for each of the persons that you hired. The contract that you use is time and material, right? Now, fixed price is for scope which is going to be very fixed. You'll not be expecting many changes. Plus, you'll not be hiring engineers. You'll be just giving it to the vendor, right? And they will do it themselves. You don't care who they hire and all. As long as the work is finished, you'll pay them. If not, bye bye. Lump sum is another name for fixed price, and cost reimbursable is done for research and development situation. And again, for cost reimbursable, you don't hire engineers. You simply give it to people, right? Give it to the vendor to do it themselves. So the moment you talk about hiring engineers, well, you talk about time and material. All right, let's move on to question number 140. Recently, your project team has been running into obstacles that prevent them from achieving objectives. What is the most appropriate technique for a servant leader to build consensus among the team members to mitigate these obstacles? A, emotional intelligence, B, facilitation, C, active listening, and D, nominal group technique. And the correct answer is B, facilitation. So, what is the most appropriate technique for a servant leader to build consensus? And I think we've talked about it earlier in one of the sets. While this is a recurring thing which shows up in PMP exams quite often, well, I'm repeating it. Of course, this question is slightly different from the previous one, but I think it's a recurring thing, and you should pay attention to this. So, whenever you talk about building consensus, one of the amazing skills that is needed to make sure that you're able to make people participate, to be able to actively, give their suggestions, ask each other questions, and come to some kind of an understanding, which is called consensus. That entire suite of skills is called facilitation skills, right? Active listening is being a good listener, right? Nominal group technique is basically a voting technique, and emotional intelligence is something more to do with your ability to govern your as well as understand other people's emotions, right? But that is not going to give you consensus. Facilitation skills will provide you with the consensus. Emotional intelligence may help you to arrive at consensus or help you do better facilitation, but that's not the reason why you get consensus. That is facilitation.